A very good afternoon to all of you who are joining us here from India. A very good morning to those joining in from Europe. My name is Samrat. I work for Euraxis here in India, and it is an immense pleasure for us today to bring you one of our most prestigious fellowship programs into your screen. This is about the Skłodowska Curie Postdoctoral Fellowship Call 2023. I think those of you who are joining have somehow or the other heard about this very prestigious fellowship program. It's, I think, one of the best in the world, and it has a lot of opportunities for you if you are interested to fulfill your dream research project in Europe, a postdoctoral fellowship. We are here today to give you an excellent and exclusive overview about the application process, about the outline of the call, and also we will have a bit of time to go into a Q&A session with you guys. There is a Q&A function box where you can put in your questions. We will try to answer them. We will also have a Q&A at the end. So don't worry, we will try to get your questions answered as much as possible. But we will also have expert speakers here with us today who will guide you through this call. But also, we are very happy that we have two Indian researchers who have cracked the fellowship in the past, and they will be very happy to share their experience and give you tips. Also, let me now briefly just welcome our guest speakers. I start with our main speaker, Ms. Lily Kankaya. She is a senior executive at the framework unit at the Malta Council of Science and Technology in Malta, in Europe. She is the NCP and Program Committee member for the MSCA program in Malta since 2016. She's also a Euraxis colleague. She is in charge of the Euraxis Malta office, and she also has a background in international relations and international law. Very good morning to you, Lily. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning to everyone, and good afternoon to those in India.
Exactly. Lily, we also have with us Dr. Vivek Dham from the EU delegation in India. He's the senior advisor of the Research Innovation Program, responsible for Horizon Europe. As you can see from his background, he's the Horizon Europe man here in India. And Vivek will be with us throughout the session, also trying to help to answer questions from you, which are coming through into the Q&A. Please don't put them in the chat. Put them in the Q&A, and we will share, of course, the recording and the slides. You will also get a certificate for attending this webinar, so that just in the beginning. We move also to our next speaker, which is Dr. Indrajit Sahu. He's assistant professor at the Department of Medical Research, SRM University, Chennai. Very good afternoon to you, Dr. Indrajit. Thank you for joining. We will introduce you again during your session. We will tell a bit more about your background. You will tell us actually more about you. But for now, we can tell Dr. Indrajit has been a Skłodowska Curie fellow in the past, and he's very happy to share his knowledge and experience with you. And last but not least, very happy to have Dr. Harihar Jayashree Subramaniam with us. She is at the moment a fellow at the Ecoscience Chemistry and Molecular Biology Department at Aarhus University in Denmark. Very good morning to you. You're joining us from Aarhus, I suppose, Jayashree?
No, actually, I'm in India currently, so this just fit perfectly.
Okay, very good. So a good afternoon to you then. And Jayashree, we will also come later back to you. Get to know a bit more about you, about your fellowship, and you will also be very happy to share with the audience about your experience. But now, without any further delay, Lily, the floor is yours. Please take us through the 2023 call and help us to understand better how to apply for this very prestigious program. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this introduction and for this invitation. For me, it's a pleasure to host, to share my experience and then to inform you a bit more about the call, the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. Just before we start, I would like to start with a very brief warm-up exercise, and I'm going to put in the chat a link. And I invite all of you to join from mobile or from laptop, as you prefer. And just to share your location with us. So you can do that so by clicking on the link, and then you can use here the plus, and you can do the location either by typing it or by pinning the actual location. So just let us know where from you're joining us at the moment. And just let's wait just a few minutes for the results to come. You did receive the link, right? But wait a moment. The message comes to the host and panelists. Can I do it to all? No. So I have to put it in the Q&A, the link. Because it seems that...
Yeah, that's what we
One second, I'll just...
because in the chat does not allow me to...
The one that you have is me, by the way. Just...
Do you think it's possible to do it in the chat? Because in the Q&A...
yeah, it is possible. I will just open it.
All right, yes, please.
Okay, now it should be available to everyone. If you can put it again, Lily.
Let me try. Yes, there is to everyone. So now I can do it.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. I think now people start clicking on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I see somebody from Malta has joined us.
Yeah, this might be even due to the testing there, or else maybe some of my colleagues are joining. Of course, mostly we'll have participation from India.
Yeah.
But we see also other countries.
Yeah, from Japan.
From Japan, yes, very interesting. Yeah. And also some European destinations too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Australia. We also have Finland.
Yeah. Portugal.
Even
very,
UK.
very international. Very, very international. That's what the MSCA program is about as well. International, intersector, interdisciplinary. So, okay, few more seconds and we can start with the presentation then. Because I see a lot of participants have mapped their areas. Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing your location with us. And now, let's proceed with the presentation. Do you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know for what reason is not going slideshow.
It sometimes has a slight delay.
Interesting. Yes, it has a delay. It's not going in. Do you think it's good enough? Is visible enough like that? Because it's not going in the full. Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We can start.
Let's continue then. So in today's presentation, I'm going to brief you about just general overview of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions Program, and then I'll talk more about the Postdoctoral Fellowship Call, which is the subject today. I'll also show you how to apply, how to find a host, which is very important for of course, for the researchers that join us today. And also I'll go through few common mistakes that are usually being done over the past years, which are very simple mistakes, but very important. So I'll also pay attention to show you those. And at the end, I will just present you a local program that we have in Malta, just very briefly, which is about hosting foreign researchers here in Malta and providing them with a masterclass. So The Marie Skłodowska Curie Actions program is part of the Horizon Europe program. The Horizon Europe program is the biggest program for funding research and innovation in Europe. The budget is around 95 billion euros, and the program is open to the world. So therefore, of course, is open even for you to participate in. The Marie Skłodowska Curie Actions are part of the Pillar 1, which is the excellent science pillar. And basically, the excellent science pillar is characterized mostly about bottom-up opportunities. So let's start now with the MSCA. Just in a nutshell, this is a program that is funding bottom-up opportunities. So it's suitable for all type of research, is open for any nationalities and any age researchers. It is intersectoral, interdisciplinary, international, of course, and it provides very attractive working and employment conditions. It's a very prestigious program. All the programs, not only the postdoctoral fellowship call, they're very, very prestigious, and they are programs that are suitable for researchers at different level of their experience and stage. Collaborations with the private sectors are also very much welcome. So it is a taboo that usually people say that the MSCA program is suitable only for the academic, for the universities, but no, it's not the case. There are also opportunities, and you as well as the researchers may be hosted not only in universities, but you may be also hosted in private sector or any other non-academic sector entities. Just to give you a brief overview of the main MSCA actions. So there are 5. We have the doctoral networks, and this one is suitable for PhD candidates because it's a network of different entities, and then each one of the entity employs a PhD student that will work in the program for up to 3 years. Then we have the postdoctoral fellowship call, which is the subject today, and my slides then later on will be about it. We have the staff exchanges. Oops, what's happening here? There are delays, yes, in the slides. It's moving by itself. Sorry about that. So we have the staff exchanges. As it says, this is also action where you will have at least 3 partners from 3 different countries, and then their staff, their employees, will start going on secondments. And that's how the actual project will be implemented through secondments. Then we have the co-fund. Co-fund, there are also opportunities for you out there to look for. So usually when the co-fund projects are approved by the European Commission, so they will be already funded projects, then the beneficiaries will start publishing the opportunities through Euroaccess. Okay, so it's mandatory for them to publish in Euroaccess. And there are opportunities either for postdoctoral fellows or for doctoral students. Okay, so you might also look out about these opportunities. And the last one is MSCA and Citizens. This is just a fair that is being funded and is being organized at the end last Friday of each September around Europe. It's a big fair just to promote the EU-funded projects, basically. And is one tip for you to mention participation in such fairs in your application when you prepare the MSCA postdoctoral application, to mention that you will be willing to participate in such fair to promote your project, of course. Then we have the postdoctoral fellowship call. Let me try to, okay, so now it worked. And the postdoctoral fellowship call, we have 2 types of actions. So we have the European one and the global fellowship one. So in most of the cases, for you, it will be the European fellowship that you will be applying. And let me explain why. Because the European Fellowship is about any nationality fellows that would like to perform their project in Europe. Okay, so in Europe meaning a member state of the European Union or associated country. Associated country, there is a full list of these associated countries, but these are usually countries that are spread around Europe. Let's say Israel, Turkey, these are also eligible for the European Fellowship. Now the Global Fellowship, maybe there are some of you participants here today that would like to be supervisor and not the applicant, not the actual fellow. If you would like to act as a supervisor, then the Global Fellowship might be of your interest. So basically, what is the requirement here is that you need to have, of course, the researcher, the postdoctoral researcher, who can be of any nationality, but must have a PhD degree already awarded by the time of the deadline of the call, which is 13 September this year, and not have more than 8 years full-time research experience. Now, there are some ways. There is a way to calculate this full-time research experience, and in the other slides I have included the link. Because the key here is the full time. So if you had the job that was, let's say, part-time based on research, then you might be still eligible if you have more than 8 years after the PhD has been awarded. So we have the researcher, then you need to identify a supervisor. Okay, so a host entity and a supervisor. And as I said, for the European Fellowship, this has to be an organization that is based in European Union or associated country. And then the supervisor is the professor. In most of the cases, is not a requirement to be professor, but in most of the cases, the supervisors are professors, because of course, the supervisor has to have more experience and knowledge than you as an applicant. The host entity, as I mentioned, can be academic, but can be also non-academic. There are cases of non-academic successful fellowships too. All domains of research are applicable, but what is important is the mobility rule. The mobility rule is like that. So for the country that you're going to apply, let's say you choose Malta, for example, you should have not been living, working, or residing in Malta for not more than 12 months in the last 3 years before the call deadline. Okay, so if, for example, you were studying in France, let's say, and you have maybe just finished your PhD studies recently, you have to be careful and see that you respect the mobility rule. One more time, I repeat, it is 12 months, not more than 12 months in the last 3 years. Also, what is important is that, please note that as a fellow, you can apply only with one proposal. So one proposal and one host entity. While if you want to act as a supervisor, then the supervisors may apply and may support as many fellows as they want. There is no limit there. And for the Global Fellowship, it is researchers, again, which are either citizens of European Union or long-time residents, and also associated countries here. And then the Global Fellowship can be performed in a third country, so then it can be in Europe as well. I have included here the link of the call after you receive this presentation, so of course you will be able to click and see the actual submission page and download the templates and everything from there. What is the duration of the funding? So we have between 1 year and 2 years, up to 24 months for the European Fellowship. But this can be extended with additional 6 months if the last 6 months are spent in a non-academic sector. Okay, so if you apply with an university and you find a non-academic placement in the last 6 months, the funding will go up to 30 months. And for the global fellowship, it's up to 3 years, where the last year is a mandatory return to Europe. Now, what is very important, it is not a requirement of the call, but it gives an added value to the actual proposal, is to include secondments. Secondments are you may find, for a secondment, you need to find another organization that is going to host you for some time of the fellowship. but this is longer than 1 month, but shorter than 1/3 of the actual duration of the fellowship. So let's say if you're applying for 24 months, then the secondment can be up to 8 months. And this secondment can be in the same country. Let's say you applied in Germany, you might find the secondment also in Germany, or it can be also in another country as well. It can be actually placed, it can be in any country in the world. So your secondment may also be in India in that case. And of course, for the secondment, you will also need to identify a supervisor as well from this entity. Non-academic placement is what I explained just before, with the additional 6 months. But here it cannot be while the secondment can be any entity, can be academic or non-academic. Of course, the non-academic, as the name already says, has to be in a non-academic entity. And then you can also enrich your proposal by including short trips. The short trips have a duration of less than 1 month. And this can be with a specific purpose, let's say to, of course, to attend trainings, which is one of the core in this call. But also it can be to obtain certain data or to use equipment that is not available in this entity that you're applying with. So there is a lot of opportunities here. And for the secondments, also another thing that is important to mention is that they can be split secondments, meaning you can go in a place for 2 months, then you can go to another place for another 1 month or 3 months, or else you can have it at one go. But the maximum is 8 months. And this can be different entities as well. It's not necessary to be the same entity. Another thing is that there is a second chance opportunity through the ERA Fellowships. So what is the ERA Fellowships? So you submit your application for the normal MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. And then one of the questions you will be asked in the online part, in the administrative forms, is would you like to participate in the ERA Fellowships? So ERA Fellowships is only if you choose your host entity to be based in a country that we call widening countries. Widening countries are those less developed member states and associated countries that are part of the program. And one of them, for example, is Malta. Malta is considered less developed in comparison to the old member states, and therefore they give additional funding. So if you click yes on that, there will be no additional evaluation. It's automatic transition to this ERA Fellowship if you are not selected through the main call. If you are selected through the main call, of course, it will remain the postdoctoral fellowship. But then if you would like to have a second chance, then it goes automatically. And again, there is a budget. And automatically all the projects are being funded until the budget is exhausted, basically. Also, another opportunity is the Seal of Excellence. The Seal of Excellence is given to all those excellent proposals that score above 85, and but are not selected for funding. So there was not enough budget for them, but they're yet recognized excellent proposals. So this label is given to them, this certificate, and you may look for additional funding. So there are some countries that provide additional funding for CO of excellence. In that case, you won't be considered MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship though, but still the same project will be funded as you requested. The call has opened recently, last month on the 12th April. Therefore, it's possible already to download the latest template. And the deadline is 13th September at 5 o'clock Brussels time. I do not recommend you to apply in the last moment. Please do not submit your applications in the last day, even the last 2 days. You may upload your proposal and submit, and then maybe earlier, and then maybe if you want to make some changes, you can still do that. It's not a problem. Even after you click on the submit button, you can come back and only the latest version will be considered. So better submit early, and then if you just need to change something, that will be okay. Because I'm telling you that because usually there are so many applications. In the last years is around 7,000, but in the previous years was more than 10,000. So the system might crash. Do not risk it. And what is important to say is maybe some of you had applied last year in the 2022 call, and if you scored below 70, you are not allowed to resubmit the same application in this call. Now, if you change the host and the supervisor and the actual idea, okay, you can. But with the same proposal, with the same host entity and the same supervisor, you are not going to be eligible if you scored below 70. And another important thing to mention is that the budget is very easily calculated. You don't need actually to calculate or estimate any budget. Everything is automatically calculated using unit costs. And according to the duration of your fellowship and the country that you have selected, everything is being calculated automatically. 1 unit is 1 month. And you can see here the living allowance, which is the actual salary. Okay, so this is the actual salary of 5,008 euros. But this unit cost is being calculated according to the country that you have selected. So there is a percentage. It's also available in the documents. You can see it. For example, for Malta is 89% something. For Brussels is 100%. Every country has a different percentage according, of course, to the cost of living. And the living allowance must be, you must still pay the taxes and the social security according to the national law. Then you have a mobility allowance, which is given on top of the living allowance. No matter if what the situation, it has to be given to you. There are 2 options how this is given. Usually most of the organizations prefer just to add it to the living allowance, to the salary. Then of course it's being taxed as well. Or else there are some options in some organizations where they can give it in exchange of, let's say, some rent invoice or something like that to justify the cost. And on top, those of you that are married or have children that are dependent on them, under 18, this is of course once again related to the national rules, will also receive a top-up allowance of 660 euro per month, no matter if the family is moving with you or not to the country. Then there are some long-term leave allowance and special needs allowance. This is only for cases where it's needed. For example, special needs allowance is for researchers with disability issues that might need additional budget to help them maybe relocate or to perform the research. So there are these possibilities as well. And long-term leave allowance is like let's say for long sick leave, or if something like that happens during the project duration. The last two columns, this is the budget that will be given to the host entity, and the 1,000 euros for research, training, and networking. Contributions will be spent again towards you, the researchers, by organizing trainings, by organizing conferences, networking opportunities, sending you to networking opportunities abroad. Visa applications will be also covered from this budget line. Sending you abroad for the secondments as well. And the management and indirect contribution that stays for the host, for just hosting you and providing the time of the supervisor at your availability, of course. So it's very easy. The budget you don't need to worry about. It's just calculated automatically. So I just highlighted here in one slide the eligibility for the researchers from India. So in general, you will be eligible for the European Fellowship one if you are planning to act as the fellow. Then in the call, then we can also go to the call page, and I can show you how to download the templates and how to actually click on the proposal. But be careful to select the European Fellowship one, because often researchers do mistakenly click on the Global Fellowship one. And once again, pay attention to the mobility rule. The country that you're selecting as a host, you should have not spent more than 12 months in the last 3 years in the same country there. For the secondments, for example, there is no such mobility rule. And as I said, secondments can be anywhere in the world. It's important that you need to identify your supervisor and your host entity in a member state or associated country. Have your PhD awarded or successfully defended the thesis by the time of the call deadline, by the 13th September. Have less than 8 years full-time research experience. And I have included here these links. So there is one of the guidance. It's explaining a bit further this condition. And then there is the self-check. So the self-check is going to help you calculate this full-time 8 years full-time research experience. The secondments are up to 1/3 of the fellowship, and they can be any place in the world. As I said, they can be back in India for you. The non-academic placement, it's only in the last 6 months and only in a member state or associated country. And the short trips, then they are less than a month duration and can be, once again, any place in the world. Here I included a list of the mandatory deliverables. So this is something that all the fellows will then need to prepare during the project duration and submit to the European Commission. I'm including the list so that maybe you can already include them in your deliverables when preparing the proposal, so that the evaluators then will see that you are well prepared and you have planned ahead. Why don't with all the requirements and so
Okay, it seems we lost Lily for a few seconds. I hope she will be back with us, but let's just see, like Yeah, I think she's coming back, yeah. We just lost you for a second, and you have to unmute.
Sorry about that, but these things happen. Thankfully, I'm back.
Yeah, it was
so
just like
I guess on the statistics, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So I was saying that the success rate is quite good. In the last call, there was it was about 17%, and this is maybe a result of the UK not being associated yet. So if you choose UK, you can still choose UK as your host entity, but then depending if they have managed to sign their associated agreement with the Horizon Europe program by that time, if the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call will be eligible or not as a main host UK. If it is the agreement is not signed yet, then the UK government is funding those proposals. So do not worry, you are not going to be completely ineligible. It's just then you won't be called again MSCA Fellow, but you will still receive the funding through national funds of the UK government. That's one important thing to say, because for the European Fellowship, as a reminder, it has to be a member state or associated country. And since UK is no longer a member state, now in the process for the association, so hopefully soon time, hopefully. And just also another thing to mention is that it is not by the call deadline that the UK has to be associated by, but by the time that you have to sign the grant agreement, which is like you have up to 3 months after the results are out. Now, how to apply? Everything is based under the funding and tenders portal. And this is not only for the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call, but all Horizon Europe opportunities. So if you just type in your browser funding and tenders portal, it will immediately come, and you can then look in the call. After I finish with the presentation, we can also go, I can do a quick live demo for you to show you how to find the call and how to download the applications. So then the actual, once you start clicking on submitting the proposal, you will see that there are 2 parts of the application is consisted of 2 parts. So one is part A, which is the structural data, is more administrative data, which is the entity that you are applying, now who are the supervisors, who is you, the budget, and so on. So it's an administrative form, online form that you fill in. And then we have the part B, which is the actual Word document proposal, where you can explain the actual project. Then once you are going to submit, you have to submit it in a PDF form. And that is how actually it looks once you click on inside the call. You will find the templates on the left side down, download part B templates, and you can click, and of course you can download them from now. And what is the part B actually consists of? So there are part B1 and part B2, again is split in 2. Part B1 is the actual proposal based on excellence, impact, and implementation. These are the 3 main sections of the proposals, and you have a 10-page limit here. Very important, do not go over the 10 pages. Whatever you have extra and above the 10 pages will be automatically deleted, and the evaluators will not have access to it. So you have to fit in these 10 pages. The part B2 has no page limit and is basically the CV, your CV. And there is also a table where you have to complete the capacity of the participating organization. It is a general description of the host organizations. And the commitment letter is just for the global fellowship, so is not relevant for you at that point. A bit more about the award criteria. So the actual template, as I said, is excellence, impact, and implementation. But then you have these subheadings there. The template is very structured with you have also all the description, what you have to write where, all the suggestions and explanations how to do it. So once you download the template, please just remove the descriptions, but keep these headings there. Do not delete the headings and the titles. You can add further sub-headings, like let's say 1.2 will be proposed methodology, but you can add 1.2.1 or just highlight there with a bold or italic and add further subheadings in order to make it more clear for the evaluators. You have to try to score the best in all sections. O2 excellence is the most heavy weighted one, the most important one, as you see is 50% of the score. Still, for the proposals to be successful, you need to try to score as much as the highest in all sections. And usually they're scored each section from 1 to 5 from the evaluators. Now I have a quick video just to summarize the call, and then we'll proceed with the second part of the application.
What is MSCA? The Marie Skłodowska Curie Actions are the European Union's reference funding program for doctoral education and postdoctoral training. If you hold a PhD and wish to pursue your career in research in another country, why not apply to the MSCA? Submit your own postdoctoral research project. Calls for postdoctoral fellowships are published every year and are open to researchers in all fields of research and from all countries of the world. You will need to submit an application jointly with the host organization of your choice. Who can apply? The MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships are open to excellent researchers, including researchers wishing to return to Europe or restart their career in research. There are two types of postdoctoral fellowships. European fellowships will allow you to do research in an EU member state or in a country associated to Horizon Europe, regardless of your nationality. Global fellowships will allow you to do research mostly outside Europe with a mandatory return to an EU member state or to a country associated to Horizon Europe. You may only apply if you are a national or a long-term resident of one of these countries. In both cases, just remember these two rules. You should do your research in a different country to the one where you are currently living or working. Check carefully the specific rules. In general, you should have less than 8 years of experience as a researcher since the award of your PhD, although some exceptions apply. Apply for existing postdoctoral positions. Another way to become an MSCA Postdoctoral Fellow is to apply for one of the MSCA co-fund postdoctoral vacancies published all year round on the Euraccess portal. Check the requirements of the position of your interest and apply directly to the university or organization advertising it. What are the employment conditions? The MSCA offer an attractive salary and good working conditions. Your future host organization will recruit you. Your contract will include a monthly allowance covering your salary and travel costs and social security coverage. Depending on your situation, you might also be entitled to a family allowance if you have a partner or children, a special needs allowance if you have a disability, a long-term leave allowance if the need arises. The MSCA will also finance your training, research and networking activities. What are the benefits? As an MSCA Fellow, you will receive advanced training, acquire new skills and improve your career prospects. You will also gain new international experience and exposure to other disciplines and sectors. You may even have short placements in other countries and experience outside academia. If you need help to prepare your application or have a question about the requirements, you can reach out to the MSCA National Contact Point of your country or contact the Marie Curie Alumni Association. Apply now and join the MSCA community. Best of luck. Marie Skłodowska Curie Action.
Okay, this was just a quick overview of the call. You have the link, so you may share it then after even with other colleagues. Just a few more slides from my end, and this is here just to highlight that the budget of this year's call is 260 million euros. And once again, the call deadline is 13 September. Results will be out in February next year. So you will be notified in February next year if you're selected or not. And you can start your projects as from June. In some cases, it can be even a bit before if you sign the grant agreement a bit faster. You may also postpone your start date, and this can be, usually it's up to September the following year, so it will be 2025. Okay, so you have quite a lot of time to, let's say if you have another job in the meantime, or for any other reasons, you might want to delay the start of the fellowship. How to find the host? So usually the best way is if you already have your own network and you already know a supervisor that you want to work with, but it might not be the case. And then you can use the Euraccess portal. There is a section, find hosting opportunities, and they're all listed there. Or maybe not all, but quite many of them, quite many countries are using this channel. So it's a good way. There is the MSCA matchmaking platform as well. So this is a platform where both researchers, individuals, and also organizations can register. And there is also a page where the interest of the course is being indicated. Let's say you can say that you are looking for host, or else that you're providing hosting opportunities, and so on. Of course, the funding and tenders portal as well. I'll show you sometime. In the call page, there are also some organizations that have expressed interest to host researchers for the call. And then I included the link to the hosting offers that we have here from Malta. Common mistakes. Okay, so generally, one big mistake is that researchers are selecting the Global Fellowship Call instead of the European Fellowship Call, and then like it's not going to be considered eligible in that case, because you will be listing, let's say, entity in India. You have to be careful, okay, which call. If you're applying as a researcher, not as a supervisor, the only option for you will be the European Fellowship, unless you have a long-term residence or citizenship in a European Union or a member state. Also, in some cases, often researchers are selecting themselves as a supervisor as well. And of course, this is not possible. The supervisor and the researcher has to be two different people. There's some missing information or else wrongly encoded NEP, which is the non-academic placement, or secondments. Be careful with those. The non-academic placement is only for the last 6 months spent in a non-academic organization. And it adds to the proposal this additional 6 months. So often applicants confuse the secondments and this non-academic placement. Also, another thing is, so you have to add the contacts here in the administrative form. Do not add the secondments, okay, here. So often this is also a mistake. So you have to add, of course, the host entity, And then you will add here only as an associated partner only if you have a non-academic placement organization. If you have a secondment, you do not place it. You do not place it here as an associated partner. Just the non-academic placement. Okay, that's very important. The secondments will be described here in that table, which is the part B2 table. And you can include, once again, the information about the non-academic placement, but also the one for the secondment. Okay, so it will be required to have the PIC number. PIC number is a 9-digit code that will give the date of the entity automatically as well. And of course, you have to describe the secondments also in the actual proposal, because you have to explain why do you need this secondment. It has to make sense for the project. It's not just because you would like to visit another country or come back to India. You have to justify, maybe it is the supervisor there that will add value to your project, or maybe some kind of equipment or some training. So it has to be well justified even in the actual text. This I already said, how to encode the secondments, and also with the budget. So be careful, of course, if you're going to, let's say, perform your fellowship in Germany, you select Germany. You don't select India, or, because it's all the budget is being calculated automatically, and very often, again, applicants are confusing somehow to select the right country. Do not worry about the warnings. Okay, so when you submit, you can validate your proposal before you submit. If you receive a warning, do not worry about it. It's just the system will warn you for something. Of course, read it and see what it says, but it's not going to block the submission. But then if it comes red, it's a blocking issue, and then you won't be able to submit. You have to come back to the proposal, see what is missing, complete it, and then try again. Few words about the postdoctoral fellowship to Malta scheme before I finish. So we are going to organize a masterclass on 12th July, and we are inviting all those researchers from abroad who have selected Malta as their host organization and have identified their supervisor. They're going to be invited for this masterclass through a very short application form. So there is the link in here is just a general description of the idea, very basic, but what is important is to include the supervisor details, because we are going to verify that the supervisor has agreed to host you. And of course, as I said, it has to be based in Malta. And what we are funding, it's a lump sum grant. So depending on the country that you are living in at that time, it will be either 800 euros for those that are based in Europe, or 2,000 euros for any third country, so including India, of course. And we'll be giving 50% of the funding as soon as participation was confirmed. I mean, as soon as the researcher comes to Malta, and the remaining 50% as soon as there is a proposal being submitted. And you, as an applicant, you will be responsible to make your travel arrangements and visa. Here is again the link to finding Maltese supervisors and host entities, and here is one of the most important slides, I would say, for you, because I will invite you to go through each one of these links after you receive this presentation. There is the work program where there is more information about the call. There is the MSCA website where you find useful resources, such as also other funded projects, video materials, guidelines, and so on. The call page, the guide for applicants, very important document. This guide for applicants explains the basics, the requirements. You need to go through it for sure. And what is also very, very good a tool for you when you're preparing the application is the MSCA Net handbook. So this handbook gives you hints and tips on how to prepare a good proposal. For each one of the sections, you will find further information and suggestions on what to include as a good practice, what is good to include, what is not good to include. I really advise you to follow it. And there are also some other useful links which are important. Also, the list of NCPs. So in every country, especially in Europe and associated countries for sure, but even in the world, there is quite many national contact points like me. So you can contact the one of the country that you are selecting as a host, and they can give you additional help. Most of us, we review the proposals as well. So we review them, we check them, we also add suggestions and so on. And that was it from my end. But now, if we just have 2 minutes, I will quickly show you the funding contenders portal very quickly. I will not take much of the time. So you type in your browser funding contenders portal. Okay, do you see?
Yes.
I guess yes, okay. Then you find here all the programs of the European Commission. You just click on Horizon Europe, okay. Also, very important, each one of you has to register, okay. So you just register from this button here at the back. There is a register, just a simple email and a password, and then you can download the forms. For this reason, otherwise, just to browse, you don't need to be registered. You click on Marie Skłodowska Curie Actions. I always unclick that close calls because we are not interested in these close calls, and it comes automatically clicked. And there you go, you find the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. You also find all the other open MSCA calls. And here it comes the call page. So you will find the general description here, but then it goes to much more details in the subsection. So go through this information, of course. Then you have here the conditions and documents, also very important. You will find a lot of additional documents that you need to go through, including here the application form, but this is not the one that you download in the format that you will need. This is just to view and to see how it looks, more about the unit costs and so on. So then how to download the templates. Here you can find some entities that are already looking to host researchers. And then the most important part is here, the start submission for downloading the templates. So as I said, be careful. You will have to click on the European Fellowship. You click, you make the start submission, you confirm, and then you should be redirected. Okay, then there is the login. Because in order to, okay, we'll leave it now because I have to make a verification. But once you register, you will have the access, and then the forms will come on the left side of the screen, and you can just download them. So this was quickly from a quick overview because there is so much to talk about this call. Really, there is a lot of examples to show as well, but I know that we have another 2 speakers which will speak a bit more about their proposals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lily, for this very informative and very engaging presentation, and also sharing some important links, and also the last to show how to register oneself and to the portal, because that's a bit of tricky sometimes, and a very good advice you said, like, don't submit at the very end, already submit earlier, and you can always modify, go back to that. But Lily, thank you so much. You're getting kudos from our participants, and we will of course share Lily's slides after this webinar with all of you, and also all the links which she has shown you and informed you about will be available. But now let's also welcome our 2 other speakers, Dr. Indrajit Sahu and Dr. Hariharjashri Subramaniam. Both have cracked this MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship. First of all, of course, that's a big achievement, of course, in your career. Congratulations. We are very happy to have you with us. And, we would like to know a bit more about you and about the fellowship. So if you could tell us a bit about yourself, about your research background, and what has been your experience with this MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship. Maybe I can ask Dr. Jayashree to start, and then also Dr. Indrajit to come in.
Thank you so much, Samrat. And I want to start by thanking Lily for that very, very informative presentation. I wish I had that resource when I was applying for mine, because yes, as you very clearly mentioned, there are a lot of these loopholes that one needs to be aware of on how to exactly apply to the correct fellowship. So thank you so much for that. And I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Jayashree Subramaniam. I am a first generation scientist. I come originally from New Delhi. I have been actually always fascinated with the world of plants. And I studied my bachelor's and master's from Delhi University, Miranda House in botany. And then I was lucky enough to get a fellowship called the Young Scientists for the Future Fellowship from the French National Institute for Agricultural Research. It's called INRA. So I moved to France in 2017 to pursue my PhD in ecological genomics and evolutionary ecology, basically focusing just on plants and trying to understand how they behave and they interact with each other in nature. And since then, after my PhD, it was very strange that I graduated in the middle of a pandemic. So the year was 2020, and I graduated right. My defense was actually on the day they shut down the entire country. So it was a very, very scary time for a lot of us, and we didn't know what we were supposed to do. And applying to this fellowship was like a really, really long shot for me. I was not expecting to get the fellowship right after you graduate from your PhD, because the success rate is quite few if you don't have enough publications. At least that's what I'd heard. But, the pandemic forced us all to be inside confined spaces with a lot of time on our hands. So I decided to apply for the fellowship, and thankfully I was able to get it in the first go. And strangely, it was also without any experimental publications. So I would really, really recommend anybody who is interested in applying for this fellowship and is lacking what they think is relevant research experience to not be afraid of that, because what they look for is you as a person, you as your profile, and what this fellowship can do to your career. So that is my one basic statement that I really want to start off by saying that, don't be afraid to apply.
Very great. Thank you. This is very encouraging, because it shows, you can crack this fellowship, if you have the right idea and you are convincing enough with your research. Let me also bring Dr. Indrajit into the discussion. Like, Dr. Indrajit, please briefly tell us a bit about yourself and, what has been your experience with the fellowship and why did you apply?
Yeah, sure. So can I share some slides so that it will be easier for the audience?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
Fine. Yes. So here you go, and here's the slide. So is it visible, right?
Still, now it's there, yeah.
Okay, well, so my name is Indrajit Sahu. Currently, I'm an assistant professor in medical research at SRM Chennai. But I did my MSCA, Postdoctoral Fellowship at which is in Israel. I think most of the people, when they think of applying Marie Curie, they probably look at most of the European countries, but this is called as European Associated Country. And I really want to share my experience and the great experience in Israel.
Seems we have lost Dr.
Yeah. Yes, I'm really sorry about the.
So why don't you just tell us a bit about this your time in Israel? Like, why do you?
Sure. Yeah, sure. And but before that, I graduated. I did my PhD in Tata Cancer Hospital, Mumbai. Then from 2010 to 2015, then I moved to Israel in 2015. So, and I joined, well, let's say Professor Michael Glickman at Technion. Then I get to know about this fellowship from the European grant team at Technion. And I really appreciate their effort to maximize the visibility of European grants over there. And luckily, I got a chance from the team to for the workshop over there. So they just introduced about this Marie Curie Fellowship, and they really done a very good job. And we were trained how to write actually the proposal into, and how to contact the right person in Israel or in Europe or in the host country you're trying. But I tried the same fellowship for Technion because it was within the 12 months duration. So I applied for the same institute. So applied in 2016, and I got it, and I started my fellowship in 2017. And apart from that, I mean, during after this grant fellowship, I mean the Marie Curie Fellowship, I applied to more fellowships, to FEPS Fellowship, and also to Wellcome Trust. And based on this Marie Curie background, I got these 2 fellowships as well. So although those are short-term fellowship, but I did get it because of my Marie Curie background. I do really appreciate for that. And
Indrajit, could I just come in quickly, because you just mentioned something very interesting, that there was a European grant team at the university who helped you during the application, and then we have that many European host institutions do give support to candidates. You know, there are experienced teams of international officers who help you through the process. We have the NCP network. But Dr. Jayashree, how was it for you? Did you have any support, or you were alone in the process?
No, I mean, I really have to mention this. I actually wrote that down as well. There was a dedicated team of research support office at SCOLS, and they are really incredible at really helping researchers get the knack of, you know, there are a lot of these things because you only have 10 pages with that application. And for a first-time applicant, it can be really confusing. So I would not have gotten this fellowship had it not been for the support of people who were really like putting in a lot of effort into not just structuring your application, not just helping you understand what needs to be put where, but also reading and rereading and modifying your application. And you know what, Lily is the national contact point person. Like, people like those are incredibly useful and important for applying to fellowships like this, because we as researchers probably, I mean, at least I used to be the kind of person who used to just focus on the proposal part of it, you know, just the excellence part of the proposal. I thought that that was the most crucial. But through the process and through talking with all of these mentors, advisors, support office personnel, I got to understand the importance of each of those sections and how do I best put the information in the limited space that I have. So yeah, incredible. They were incredible.
But were you aware of it before, or you got to know it once you identified the supervisor host institution?
So actually, in my case, I just got lucky, I would say, because my host was actually my jury in my defense. So I just wanted to work with her. And it just so happened that that university has a research support office. And I did not know about structures like that before I actually thought of even applying for a fellowship like that. But I do know for a fact that there are a lot of these resources, not only at the university level, but even the commission. And Eurexis is also one of them. You have like a plethora of repositories of information where you can get access to information that you need, and webinars like this one, like, you know, it's things like this that actually help.
One more question I want, or like there are actually several questions, but looking at the time, I think we have to, like, you know, so save some time for the Q&A, because it has been quite a hot Q&A box. A lot of questions came in, but guys, like, if you look at this fellowship, you know, which is very prestigious and, you know, and gives a lot of opportunities, like, what has been the largest benefit for you to having the Marie Curie Fellowship? Like, what happened? Like, Indrajit, you completed it already. Jayashree, you're still in it, but like, just to give a taste, a flavor to our audience, like, what does it entail to be a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow?
Oh, maybe Jess, you can start, then I can continue after you.
I don't think that I can summarize it in one word about what it means to be a Marie Curie fellow. But I think for me, the most important thing is the research independence. Because when you are a PhD student, you are always working on a structured plan that is made by somebody else, your PI. but as a fellow, you get to design your own experiment. I mean, I have been doing it for the past 1.5 years. Like, I fail, but I know that I don't have to be scared, because I know when I need advice, I have that, but I have the independence to fail, you know, to carry out experiments with that innovative curiosity based experiments. Not only that, the collaborative opportunities that you get, the networking, the kind of trainings that I have had the luck and the privilege to get in the past 1.5 years, I really think that that's very unique to this fellowship. And of course, like, you know, the prestige that comes with it also. Like, I'm going to miss being called a Marie Curie Fellow in the next 6 months.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, if I share, I finished my Marie Curie at 2019, and from during that duration, like 2017, 2019, I really, I mean, had a very good experience. And the topmost, the thing is that I was kind of, I mean, very. All my, let's say, financial conditions, the personal level and in the professional level, your growth it's a definitive thing. Okay, and it's in all aspects. That's why I really appreciate that duration. And afterward, when I let's say finish my postdoctoral duration, like as a Marie Curie Fellow, and I got opportunities to become a research scientist of under European grant in Technion itself, in the same faculty. And afterward, since I wanted to continue my research experience, so I got offers from, let's say, from Max Planck, Germany, and also from Harvard Medical School to continue my research. So that was actually aftermath. Like when you are a grant, let's say, achiever from this Marie Curie prestigious fellowship field, definitely you will have your future, bright future, definitely. And now I got opportunity in India, back in India, to get a faculty position here.
Yeah. How is it recognized here in India? Like, if you would apply now for positions here in India, like being a Marie Curie Fellow, like does this ring a bell in the institutions?
Yeah, mostly to some extent I do see, but it's not. I'm very frank and honestly saying that mostly 50 to 60% institute, they do really care about that I was a Marie Curie Fellow, and rest 40% probably they look at only some other criteria. I should not expose everything.
Okay.
But sometimes so mostly publication, but definitely they look at as a asset that you are a Marie Curie Fellow.
Okay. Guys, one more last question to both of you. What are your key advice tips for the applicants for this year's call? Like, you know, like finding a host institution supervisor, how to approach the application, you know, like just share a few tips, you know, please.
Okay, I will go first. I think the first and foremost would be start early. Like Lily also mentioned, do not leave it at the last minute. Start early, because getting the right people, finding the correct host lab, all of that will take some time to form that application. You would write and rewrite every part of that application, I don't know, many times. So starting early, I defended in March 16th, and I started my application March 17th. And April was kind of like the time when I was formulating, ideating, all of those things were happening. But yeah, starting early. Finding the host lab would be my second advice, because for me, it was most crucial to find somebody who was complementary to the kind of skill set that I already had. And not only was it crucial for me to find those correct people that would be ideal for this complementarity to exist, but actually to really put that on paper. And putting that on paper is also very important, because like I mentioned, like, you know, you have very limited space. So I used a lot of these, you know, graphical, visually appealing, graphs and Gantt charts and stuff like that, because when you are an evaluator, I believe that you don't have a lot of time to read. So if it is visually appealing to you, maybe you might have a shot to do that, to get that attention from the evaluator. And I think also to make that application about you, because the commission cares about why they should be giving you the fellowship. Why are you the person to be conducting this fellowship? Why are you the person that needs to be doing this exact research? Like, how is it, I mean, not only how would it help you in your career development, but how is it important for the European science in general? Like, why is your idea ambitious? I mean, you know, really highlighting the fact that you should be daring and ambitious, but again, be realistic about the 2-year, 24-month timeline, about how much, because that was one of the comments that I had in my fellowship, that, you know, mine was, I had 5 deliverables, and the comment was that it would be amazing if I could even do 3 of them. So, but they did like the fact that I was ambitious. So, you know, really having that idea about, you know, getting ambitious, getting into that uncharted territory, because they are looking for exactly that. And they're looking to ask the question that, why should you be the one to get that fellowship? Why is it you? It's all about you. And I think like quality over quantity, I think I'm testament to that, that even without having an experimental publication, I was able to get the fellowship, which means that maybe the idea about what innovative idea do you have, maybe that takes precedence over the number of publications you have. At least that's my personal experience.
Thank you. Thank you. And Indrajit.
Yeah, okay. So as not only as an awardee, but also as an evaluator now, because I'm actually working as an Marie Curie Postdoctoral Fellowship evaluator. So since last 3 years. So I have very important points. First, I agree to Lily and Jayashree, you have to start early. I started mine in May when I had to like submit my proposal in September. So because you need to first, I mean, I would suggest 3 more important things before you write. First thing is that understand the grant agency, understand the Marie Curie first. Take your time, take 2 weeks, read everything in the web page, try to get a lot of knowledge about it. What's the background? What actually the main, propaganda, what is actually Marie Curie Fellowship? You need to understand first understand them. Then you go for your science, start writing your proposal. Then other thing, next thing I would suggest that be honest with yourself. Do not exaggerate, do not be over ambitious on your proposal. Understand your limitation, understand your project, and write exactly that you can finish in 2 years. Do not over exaggerate that you will reach the moon in your 2-year proposal. Okay, so that's my second suggestion. The third suggestion would be, for the submission, start early and submit it much before, as everyone's suggesting, and revisit your proposal many times, take breaks, revisit your proposal many times, correct it as much as possible when you have enough amount of time. So that's what I would suggest. Do not write this proposal in hurry, in last moment. You won't get it. That's what I would suggest. Take time and get it.
Thank you so much, both of you, Jayashree and Indrajit. And please stay with us. We're going now to the hot chair with Lily, mostly. I'll also ask Vivek to please come. Yeah, here he is. That we can share the burden and not give all the questions to Lily. But also Indrajit and Jayashree, if you have something to add on, please come in. Lily, so like you already mentioned that, if below 70%, it's not possible, right, to apply again with the same project and the same host, but you can apply with a different project idea, a different host, right?
Yes, if you applied in the last year call of 2022, you cannot reapply with the same project, with the same host, if you scored below 70. But then the same researcher can choose another host, another proposal, then it's okay. Then it's okay,
okay. There have been several times the question came like, I have submitted my PhD, I haven't defended yet. Can I still apply? Is there like a provisional eligibility criteria that even you have not gotten your degree, you can still apply?
No, basically, if you have the thesis defended at that point, it's okay. Or of course, if it is awarded already, for sure. But otherwise, no. If you just submitted it at that point, unfortunately, no.
You would need like a provisional,
provisional degree? What does it mean, provisional degree? It's like, if you have the thesis
successfully defended,
yes, then it's okay. Then it's okay, yes.
Maybe Vivek, we had this in the past also, right? Like maybe you could like highlight.
Yeah, provisional degree is accepted for the defended the thesis. But just going to the question, I would like to hear from Harsha that because we are receiving a lot of questions. We know the answer, but it's better to hear from horse's mouth that who is submitting the proposal. in the participant portal.
Who is submitting the proposal? Okay, so this can be the researcher and authorized by the supervisor, or it can be the supervisor as well.
Yeah. So
it's usually co-shared job, but the researcher can submit yes, and the supervisor agree.
Yeah. So basically, the ball lies with the supervisor, and he can give the authorization to the candidate, isn't it?
I didn't understand.
A supervisor can give the authorization to the candidate to submit their proposal, right?
Yes, it can be. Because anyway, the researcher will need the PIC number of the organization, and then the organization will be notified that this and this researcher have submitted these proposals.
Yeah. I have a question for you. This is regarding, because you recently defended the successful candidate. So there is a sections on gender balance and open science. So can you give for our audience, how do you feel the information in the application, because it's very tricky part of application.
Yes, so there is a lot to say here, but I will refer you to in my slides. There is a link to MSCA.net portal. Okay, it's a website where there are exactly for MSCA how to refer to this, to open science, how to explain it in the project, the gender dimension. There is these policy briefs. I can even find them now and put the link as well. But go through them, because they have a lot of explanations how to refer to these sections. Also in the actual template and in the handbook that I also included the links in the link section of the presentation, you will find a lot of explanation on what to include and how to elaborate on these sections. But they're given a lot of importance now, both of them.
Yeah. Jay, do you want to add something?
Sorry?
Experience? Do you want to add something on gender and open science?
Open science, I really have to add, because I actually work for the Open Research Europe, which is the European Commission's platform for submitting all research that comes out of the Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. And it is in your data management plan, you really have to mention all the ways your data might be available, unless specifically restricted for sharing. You have to be including open science, like ways to disseminate your research in an open science format. And there is a lot of information on the portal itself on how do we best do that. And I really have to mention here the Open Research Europe platform, which the Commission has just launched, actually, which is quite important. And it's actually, I would think that the applicants should mention that the research that comes out of it will be disseminated via this very platform, because the Commission is really trying to push this one ahead, and it's really cool as well. I myself have a publication there. So I really want to highlight that aspect. And about the gender equality, the gender aspect of it, I'm sorry, I'm not really aware of how do I best put that in the application. Maybe somebody else has something else to add here.
I can add a little bit about the gender aspect in the proposal. So it's not relevant to all proposals. The proposal only specific which actually include, let's say, some gender-based studies. Then it is required, and you have to write, or you have to explain why you need this gender aspect, and you need to explain it very nicely. Otherwise, it's not evaluated properly. Or otherwise, for not applicable for all the proposals if you have. Yeah.
And also, even if you don't have any gender dimension in the proposal, you should mention that.
Mention, yes, exactly. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a few more questions. There's so many, but there's no age limit, right?
No, there is no age limit. It's just the scientific age that we spoke, not more than 8 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that there are some exceptions to it, which are clearly defined, right, in the application.
Yes, there are some exceptions, like maternity leave, let's say. Yes. There is a full list in the guidelines that I sent. And there was another question. It is 8 years after the PhD has been defended.
Exactly.
It's not including it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not your PhD research time is not included. Yeah, exactly. UK can be a host institution. Yes or no?
UK can be a host institution, but you are taking a bit of a risk because basically the risk is that you might not be recognized as an MSCA fellow. You will still, if you're selected for if you're main listed and UK then joins as associated country. In the meantime, they sign all the agreements. Then yes, everything is fine. However, if it doesn't happen by, let's say, May next year, then you will automatically disqualified from the MSCA call, and then UK government will fund you though, okay, with the national funds, but not as an MSCA fellow.
Yeah. Lily, you also mentioned something about seal of excellence. Like there are some institutions.
There are institutions, there are countries, so sometimes it's a national base, sometimes it's regional based, sometimes it's the actual institution. But again, there is a web page for it where you will find them all. Just type seal of excellence and you will see the list of countries that are funding.
Yeah. Okay, so it's clearly like available on the net. There's a specific questions about the secondments, like the institutions where the secondments are planned. Do they have to be included as associated partners in the proposal? And similarly, the non-academic company hosting the research after the 24 months of fellowship, does that has to be included as associate partner in the project proposal or not?
Only the non-academic partner placement. If it is for the last 6 months, the NAP, then this partner, this entity has to be included as an associated partner because this will generate the additional budget. The secondments do not include them as associated partner. The secondments you explain in the text, and there is a table in part B2 where you include the name, a bit of a description about the secondment, but do not include secondment as associated partner.
Yeah.
Are there any interviews for the candidates? Like, is there a selection process?
No.
Okay.
But the commission might come at the, let's say when they're doing the administrative check, they might come to ask additional information to support basically your application. It's not always the case though, but it's not an interview. It's just a request of documentation.
Okay. And can I apply if I've done an integrated PhD after my BTech? Like that has been a few times we had this question. Maybe Vivek.
Could you please repeat somewhat?
There was a question a few times if one can apply for the postdoc if one has done an integrated PhD after one's BTech.
Yeah, so actually you are PhD holder, which is the integrated PhD, which is also pretty, because you get a PhD certificate at the end. So of the PhD in integrated PhD. But what I just, apart from what we are discussing, what Indrajit had mentioned, I will highlight and underline that aspect that you need to read more in depth the Marie Curie, because Marie Curie is not a regular PhD program. It is something that I say always, it is how the researchers become entrepreneur. Okay, so this has to have an interface between the lab and industry, and that is why you need to understand the rationale behind the program, why the commission is funding international fellows to this particular program. So that is why the work program of Marie Curie is very essential, even it is a little bit of lengthy, but you need to read and understand the philosophy of the commission. And the second point, what I also realized that the people, what Lily is trying to do is the interface between industry and academia is very crucial for success of the proposal, because they are looking something next generation researcher. Okay. So when you are preparing a proposal, make sure you start in advance so that you find and secondment in advance. So all these are small things, but it needs a lot of time and energy to put forward everything in a short time. So even we are advising the people, if you're not confident in 2023, because if you score less than 70, you are risking yourself. So make sure when you are 101% ready, you try for it. So even if there is a call in 2024, so that is not an issue. But make sure never apply to a Marie Curie and half-heartedly if you're not 100% ready. She had given a very nice example that the evaluators are not only looking at the publication, they are looking at overall development of the researcher's career. What is the innovative factor you are bringing in? How the program, the proposal is building the career of researchers. So all these aspects, when you are preparing a proposal, need to be highlighted and reflect into your proposal. And that is why the compatibility between you and the host institutor or the director of your PhD or postdoc has to be very unique, so that he or she understand how he or she has to project you in a proposal. So these are the few guidelines or the experience which we gathered, Samrat and myself, over the years, that why the people are lacking and where the 90-20 last 1 mark difference is there, is this kind of information which brings you an additional edge.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we take 2 more questions because we're already over the time. Can one have a co-supervisor, and can he or she be outside of the host institution?
Absolutely, and it's even recommended to have. It will add value to the proposal. So yes, co-supervisors, they can be more than as many as you want. There is no limit, and it can be also from the same institution, but then it's recommended to include from other institutions as well. The secondments, for example, the co-supervisor from the secondments, from the non-academic placement. So yes.
Because Vivek mentioned it, and you also know the secondments. I don't think it was part of your Indrajit and Jeff. It was not part of your. No, it's a novelty. I think the last 2 years. Can you just give an example of a secondment, because that has been also a question in the chat. Like, what is a secondment here? Like,
is it me or someone else? Okay,
no,
so secondment it can go for up to 1/3. It's a visit to another entity. It's a visit to another country, maybe. It might be the same country, but it's another entity, okay? Where you will find another co-supervisor there. So you will look to add value to your proposal. So this might be through obtaining skills from the co-supervisors, certain skills that the other place doesn't have, the host organization. Might be also the use of certain data that the other organization doesn't have, or certain equipment. It has to add value to the proposal. So you are moving to work from another entity for a period of between 1 month and maximum is 1/3 of the duration of the actual fellowship. So if you are applying 24 months, then it will be 8 months. And it can be more than one place. It doesn't need to be one place.
Outside of Europe as well?
Yes, it can be anywhere in the world.
Amazing.
So can I add something quickly?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So when you don't have like a secondment, your proposal, it's not penalized. So do remember, based on you have secondment or not, but when you have secondment, the way of looking at your proposal by the evaluator is a little bit changed. Okay, so it seems like you are a little bit diverse and you want to learn something more apart from whatever is present or available at your institute. You want to go to another country and to learn something more. So the way of looking at your proposal, having a little bit more weightage to the overall evaluation criteria. So that's it. Yeah, I did also have my secondment in UK, in University of Glasgow, to learn something new which we didn't have at Technion at that moment.
Great. Thank you so much for this input, Indrajit. And I think I'm looking at the watch. I have to a little bit, keep that in mind. I say it was a very great session. Thank you so much to all the speakers. Let's take a quick screenshot. Vivek, please look into the camera for a second. Yeah, so just for the memories, for the archive. Listen, guys, now you're in the process. You still have time to prepare an application. We are still with you. We will offer a series of webinars with hosting institutions who are looking for researchers candidates from India or from anywhere in the world. So that will happen 5th or 6th of June. We will send you that information in your inbox. very soon. You will also receive the slides, you will receive your attendance certificate, you will receive the link to the recording. And of course, you can always reach out to us, to the delegation, your access, and you know, the NCC network. And thank you so much again, all of you, for joining us, and wishing you all the best. Have a nice afternoon and lunchtime in wherever you are. And yeah, stay in touch. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.